Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Sorry, no idea what was going on there.
No, neither do I. It's all just fucking yeah. I don't know. We're trying to use, or I'm trying to use Restream to do it all, and then I thought it'd work, and it kind of has and hasn't. So,
You've
it's
changed the flop noodle. That's the problem.
yeah. I mean, this is so we
Yeah.
can restream to here and on Twitch at the same time. So I don't know if anybody's watching us in Twitch or whether people are just like, why would we do that? We'll just use YouTube all the time. I don't know, but we'll see. See how we go on, I guess.
Does anybody watch us on Twitch? I suppose in theory they might. If we're not on there, they definitely can't. I suppose in
Theoretically,
theory they might. If we're not on there, they
oh,
definitely can't.
yeah.
Theoretically, if we're not on there, they
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
can't. Ooh, ah. How is everybody anyway?
Oh, I'm so tired, Robin. I'm just so
You're
tired of
so tired.
everything.
Why? You should be less tired. Aren't your children back at school?
Well, only one is, but the dog still
Only
gets
one
mugged.
is your secondary school child not back yet.
No, but to be fair, he might as well be back because he's so self-contained. He just gets on with it himself anyway, and just does
Right.
all his own thing. So he's all right. He's not the problem really.
I
Um,
have 2/3 back.
that's not too bad then.
One third is having his test tomorrow, and then goes back Thursday.
We had the question mark because they're going about obviously all the testing has to be done and they've got to have these. I can't remember what they're called now. I've already forgotten the term for it, but these particular kinds of tests that they have to have done. And obviously, my kids all had COVID at the end of December, and everything we've read suggests that if you have a test within 90 days of having COVID, they'll probably come back positive. And we're like, oh, awesome! So if he has to have the test, it's probably going to come back positive. Then he's probably then have to isolate along with the rest of us. And then we're all going to have tests after that again because we all came into contact and all the rest of it. Luckily, the school have come back today and said, no, he doesn't have to have the test now till the end of March. So it's one less headache.
Okay, so you're kind of exempt, as it were,
Yeah, till the end of
because
March.
you're false positive.
Yeah, pretty much. It was just the hassle of, my wife would have had to have stayed at home. She wouldn't have been able to go to work and blah blah blah, and
Yeah,
pain and suffering and anguish, and basically that was all. There we go.
good.
So hopefully we've got everybody lateral flow. That's one. Thank you, Trooper.
Yes.
Hopefully everybody who was on the other stream is now on the right stream, and I don't know how that is going to work going forwards, and possibly I'll just say screw it and we'll go back to what we were doing
21
before.
people watching, which would suggest that everybody's over here.
Hooray! Thank you very much, everybody, for
Because
joining
that's
us.
quite a good number.
That's pretty good for us.
5 minutes in.
Yeah. It's certainly not. It's not midwinter minis standards, but it's good enough for us. We're more than happy with
Especially
that.
if there's very little to talk about still.
Very, very little, really, in the grand scheme of things. Yes.
So, what do we think of the giant demon thing then? That's something to talk about. It's nothing to do with underworlds, but what do we think of the giant demon thing?
Good old Bellacore. I mean, the model's all right. It's a very generic demon-y model. Big, weird, batty wings and demon-y looking sword and stuff. It's kind of that is a demon.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the chains on the wings. That seems a bit daft to me.
Not going to fly very well, is he?
No, it just seems, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the model is obviously great. I like both bases it's mounted on, actually. It's pretty cool. But I'm not a big fan. I think I've talked about this before. I'm not a big fan of big models in the game. I know. I'm probably trying to have my cake and eat it because I do see the benefit of having fewer models to make the game quicker. But giant centerpiece models don't interest me that much.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. Sometimes I don't mind him too much. His isn't too bad because he's not like in the middle of this massive centerpiece thing.
No, I like the model, but it's just the whole kind of 1,000 points in one place kind of thing that I object to.
Tactical tea break there from both parties. Yeah, I agree. I do find that the bigger models, I mean, some of them look really nice, but yeah, I'm not a fan of that kind of game, really. Although comically, here we are sitting playing the majority of a game which has between 3 and like 9 models, and that's it. So,
Yeah.
So what do we know, really?
Yeah, but it's different though, isn't it? It's different,
Yeah.
I think.
Yes. We were having quite an interesting discussion over in the Discord about maybe trying to hexerate. It's like pixelate, but hexelate.
Hex up.
Hexify, yeah, hex up. hexing something like Warcry. I reckon that could be quite interesting to see what it would be like to play a hex-based version of Warcry. Now, there were suggestions of using like Underworlds boards, but I'm not sure it would work with Underworlds boards because they're just.
I think that was
too
more
big.
for the arena, wasn't that more for the arena? We were talking about the pit fighter arena version. I think that probably is the place to start.
Possibly.
It's fewer models and a smaller area.
Yeah, true. True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got in the house tonight, but you didn't read out who we had in the house.
I didn't. That's because there was just so much crap going on at the start. Who have we got in tonight? We got Joseph Bingaman, Mark Reynolds, Big Boss Dan, Timothy Greaves, Matt Collins, Wolfman Gaz, Jason Newell, the Trooper. I think we've got Jason Newell already, Wolfman Gaz again. Mr. Morph is in the house, Gavin Scott, Andrew Marlowe, John Grant Miniatures, No Beef Just Party, Matt Collins again, Andrew Marlowe again, some weirdo called Robin, the Mighty Haggis. I think I've read everybody out. If I have missed you, do shout "Oi, you're a knobbo" in the chat, and I will show you. No, the Rust Belt Blacksmith as well, and Jim Tyson obviously joined us just a minute ago.
So yeah, I like Rust Belt Blacksmith, or whatever he's called. Sorry, I've scrolled down. The Rust Belt Blacksmith comment that it's a shame none of his chains have chains. I guess as a blacksmith, you probably would like to sort that out.
Yep. I have liked seeing all the pictures already people have done where they've stuck like Barbie's accessories on the chains and all that kind of stuff. Even GW had a bit of a laugh about it and did the one with all the decorations very badly stuck on top of it. Yeah.
He says it'll likely only be 350 to 400 points. So okay, well, I don't know, how does that equate? Is that a quarter of an army? Nearly fifth of an army?
Fifth of an army, I guess, something like that.
Yeah.
It's not massive, is it?
No, it's not huge. It's not huge. It just eventually there'll be no room on the battlefield. The pieces keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We have to play this game on a 10 by 12 table. Otherwise, you can't put anything down. We
can't do it any other way. There's no other options. I'm trying to work out if the text on the board on the boxes behind me is the right way around now, and I don't know if it is. It's hard to tell, but people can shout in the chat if it's not. It's bugging them.
I can tell you they're backwards.
Trying to work out why that is. Don't know why that is either, but there we go.
Is it because you actually live in a parallel dimension?
They're looking to reduce the board sizes. Well, I do wonder if there is a little bit of GW trying to, I do think that the general AOS games, because Warhammer Fantasy Battle used to obviously be like a 4x8 board, and then AOS came along and they did sort of do away a bit with the 4x8 board almost entirely. It was just a case of this is the deployment areas, and you can play it on any board that they will fit inside. So you could play it on almost like a 2 foot by 2 foot, depending on what the deployment zone dimensions were, and then and so they've done that, and there's a lot of games like Kill Team and stuff like that coming out, or have come out rather, and obviously Underworlds is a big one and stuff, and they go much more smaller sized, more coffee table sized sort of boards and stuff.
Oh yeah, Warcry had its own. Did Warcry have its own board?
It did, yeah. Two sides.
Yeah, and obviously Kill Team does. Yeah, I mean, I think smaller games, as we've said before, smaller games are better. But I mean, the model's great. I don't know. I mean, I don't play the game, so it's not really for me, is it?
No, true. And you can use it in 40k and AOS, which I quite like. I like that aspect of it. There's not many of their ranges apart from the Chaos range that really you can really do that with in a lot of cases. There's not many things that cross over the barriers. The Mighty Haggis asked, do we think he's Archaon sized or Scarbrand sized? I think he's probably somewhere in between the two. I don't think he's quite Archaon sized. I don't know if Archaon is still their tallest model ever, but because that's a big old model, and they did do a price comparison. They did do a size comparison on Facebook earlier today, but they were comparing it to other fairly large models like Abaddon and stuff like that. So, and what's his name, Girly Man. So
and he's huge.
Yeah, and they're big anyway, and he was big compared to them, so he could be almost as big as Archaon sized, possibly.
Right.
Laura says that she thinks
size.
Yeah, Laura says that she thinks he looks similar size to the other Greater Demons. I think they'll probably have him around the Greater Demon sort of level, I think. I do wonder, You know, I think it was the old Bellacore had a really game breaking rule. Someone might remember this better than me, but I remember watching a bit of an AOS battle report once, and they were talking about the character, and he had an incredibly game breaking rule. I think enabled you to. I'm pulling this out of my butt now, really, but I'm sure he enabled him to teleport a unit across the board or something like that. So it was really, really, really broken. So I wonder if he's going to have the same kind of broken rules when he's reimagined in AOS.
So Rust Belt Blacksmith thinks we would really like AOS skirmish, so they often play it with underworlds gangs. Yeah, is that the old? They came out about, I don't know, 5 years ago, maybe around when we started the channel, didn't they?
There was AOS, then there was the first proper version of AOS. Then they came up with the skirmish version. That was where you sort of ended up with models appearing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rust Belt, but that was where they had loads of the models would almost randomly appear around the board and stuff like that. So you weren't just your line versus your opponent's line across the other side of the board. I honestly can't remember very much about that game. I mean, it really does seem like these things were an absolute lifetime ago these days.
Well, that there was an update in White Dwarf, so that came. Remember that coming out, and then like a lot of seems to be like a lot of GW good ideas. It wasn't really ever supported beyond the initial. Well, you could do this, and then nobody ever. You had to kind of go on and do it yourself, and that's where I as a parent I struggle to do that next level. I basically need everything written down so that I can go away and play it. It requires very little input these days. My younger days, I would have loved to play it and work at it. And I mean, I know I actually started following. I can't remember what it's called now. It's so long ago, but there was like the sort of grungy side of it, sort of AOS grimdark kind of stuff.
Oh, it was the Blanchitsu type side.
Well, it's not. No, it wasn't Blanchitsu. It had a number in the title, I'm sure. Ink
something rather for Inquisitor. Sorry? INQ something for Inquisitor something. I can't remember now exactly. But there was it was a real grimdark version of sort of like the painting and stuff like that, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it had obviously a really strong following of people, making up really great content for it, almost Mordheim-esque content for it. AOS 28, that's probably it. And it looked really, really good. Thank you, Laura. Ends off about battle companies again.
Stop it, Ed.
Actually, I have to say, Ed, I was looking at the tree at the end model that they released, or not released, but they talked about today on the community page or yesterday, and that does look rather nice. I just can't pull the trigger on another game with models. I just can't do it. I'd love to, but I just can't.
I think the problem with those kind of games as well is Middle-earth battle companies, whilst it's in general for your average player, it's probably quite an easy, quick-ish game to get into. It's not the kind of thing that we could really do properly on the channel, and that's our extra level of
not without investing in loads and loads of models and things.
No, and also the time to paint those models, because I mean, you're not going to have hundreds, you're going to have a few dozen, but even the time it would take us to get a few dozen done, and we couldn't do anything with them until we've got them painted, really, because we've tried doing stuff on the channel before without painted terrain and models, and it just doesn't come across well. People do not like it. So that really does stymies us in that kind of a way. We really need. Sorry.
Yeah, I see us using our existing models to play something, maybe. So Frostwave or something like that. But we've talked about that before, and we just go round and round in circles. And there's just so many interesting games and so much great stuff to paint. I'm actually really enjoying my painting at the moment, which I never thought I'd necessarily say. But I'm almost want to do that to the exclusion of everything else. So if I don't turn up one evening, Pete, that's why.
Which will be really awkward because I'll be in the garage. Hello.
Yeah.
Back off.
I'm not playing. Standing outside it.
Yeah. Doors locked. I know.
But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I am slowly getting better, which is quite nice. It's nice to see that improvement. So
painting's just one of those things I'd love to do more of, and before Christmas, around I think October time was when I last put paint to model. I was starting to really enjoy it, and then everything happened, and it all just went downhill. and I
But
haven't done nothing since.
but we are going to do a paint and paint thing. I can't. My words have failed me completely. Paint thing on
Yes, very
Friday, aren't
succinctly
we?
put. We're going to attempt to anyway. Yes, we're going to try and I'm going to have to try and move this camera around and do something with it, and I'm probably just going to have to point it straight down, so it's going to be this kind of view. I'm just going to do it now. Fuck it. It's going to be like this kind of view, I think, and I'm just going to have to try and paint like this,
Yeah.
and that almost works. I think it almost works.
No way. You might want to move your keyboard.
Yeah, maybe. So I'm going to do that, and then oh god, it's all off centre now. Oh god, it's all gone horribly wrong. What have I done, Robin? So I'm hopefully going to do that, and you'll join in as well, won't you, Robin?
I'm hoping to. Yeah, I'm hoping I can get set up. I have to be on the Mac. I need to. Yeah, but hopefully I can get it set up and join in and enjoy doing some painting. And then obviously we're hoping to get 1/10 or maybe 1/100th of the views that Midwinter Mini gets.
That'd be nice. That'd be very nice.
It's Friday lunchtime, which is possibly not the best time to do it.
It's hard to tell, isn't it? Because it's like in America that's early morning, so maybe there'll be people who've got up and they can do some early morning painting before they go to work or something, and then there'll be like people in further parts of Europe or Australia, maybe. I'm not sure. I can't remember how far ahead they are. Maybe there'll be evening for them.
They're about 10 ahead, so that might work.
Maybe. So yeah, we'll give it a try, see how we go on, and then depending on how that goes, and depending on how we can do things, maybe try and make that a bit more of a regular Friday lunchtime paint-a-thon type thing for an hour. It'll be a pretty easy going thing. I mean, you're certainly not going to see any ground-breaking painting techniques on the channel, that's for sure. But
no, I mean, I'm kind of restricted on timings because I can only really do it when it's daylight because I haven't got decent lighting set up in the house. And then certainly for filming it, and then and the rest of the time the family are around. Whereas they're at school.
Bloody family, yeah. So that was one of the other reasons why, is because then if it's at a lunchtime slot, I can literally go. Hopefully, I can then just go on my lunch break. Won't have to worry about that kind of thing. And then it'll just be a little bit of downtime that maybe we'll need just to help clear the air a bit.
So if that proves popular, then it'll keep coming back. It's quite even if it doesn't. We might as well just have a chat for an hour.
yeah, definitely. So anybody who's interested, do keep an eye out and join in. Like I say, we'll probably just go back to. I mean, after this restream thing I've just tried today, I don't think it really makes much odds us using this over just going to YouTube.
Mr. Marlowe has made one of his dad puns.
Oh, where do you put that?
Ironic, really. He's one of the few of us who doesn't have kids. But he's already practicing on the puns, and he did actually send us a load of questions. Are we going to go through his questions?
He did. So yes, the topic of tonight was going to be what is out there to play, and I think we'll just dip in and out of that subject along with the questions that Mr. Marlowe has thrown us. And if anybody has any input, as always, shout them out. It always keeps the conversation flowing. I will ask Mr. Andrew, does he think that maybe he's fathered some children illegitimately that he's not aware of, and maybe that's why he's so good at all these dad puns? You never know.
Maybe so.
So one of the first ones, a nice quick question for. I haven't got them in the order he submitted them. I'll just grab ones out that I thought would actually sort of fit with the conversation we're having tonight, as well as some others that I thought, I quite like answering that one.
I was going to do some revision for this, but instead my wife and I watched an episode of Call My Agent because we were addicted to it. We've only got about 2 from the end now.
To be honest, if we made a living out of this, I might be annoyed, but given that we don't, I think I'm okay with that. So the first question.
If we were so good, I just would have watched it anyway. I bet you're lucky it's not on in the background.
Just Robert Sam. What? No. So the first question we did get asked was, will Blitzball be making a return on the channel?
Oh.
I think that's probably a safe yes, isn't it? I've got here, this is what I was working on beforehand. I think I've shown this off before, but I've got the Chaos team that I started work on.
Keep going. You're going to finish them off on Friday?
Well, I might start them on Friday, yeah. I was tempted to maybe try and start painting one of the Underworld models, but I've also got the Elf Union team undercoated, ready to try and do something with as well. So
Joseph Bingaman has watched Call My Agent and says it's good. Yeah, it is really good. We're in season 4. We've only got about 3 episodes left. Exciting.
So yeah, we will be doing more Blitz Bowl.
Yes, for sure.
I mean that Blitz Bowl is like one of those perfect games for us in that it
requires no skill.
Requires almost no skill whatsoever. One of the other good things about it is the fact there's no real setup beforehand. You haven't got to worry about making decks or anything like that. You can just pick a team, even at random almost, and just chuck them on the table, shuffle up the cards and go. The only downside with it is the fact that we can't get a Season 2 box.
No, that's rubbish.
We will have to try and see if we can get one sourced from somewhere, I feel, because I mean, we've got the Season 1 box, but it'd be nice to have Season 2.
There's a couple of people looking forward to Blitz Bowl. If we played Blitz Bowl on TTS, is that something you'd be interested in? We kind of felt that actually TTS has a bit of a less take up than physical games. So therefore, Blitz Bowl has less take up than our Underworlds games. So therefore, it wasn't much point playing Blitz Bowl on TTS. But if people want to see it, then we can play it. But also, if you're interested in seeing it on TTS, let us know with a thumbs up or something, and then. Otherwise, we'll just go back to playing physically when we can.
I would love to.
VJ, fine. Yeah, VJ. I mean, obviously, we do take your. We've got two yeses. One Laura, one from Laura, one from VJ. Okay, well, maybe this week we'll do it.
Okay.
Tim says I do. I don't know whether that's because he thinks we've asked him to marry him or what, but that's very sweet. And Andrew says yes as well, so all good. Okay, well we'll add that into the schedule.
We'll get at least 4 watches on it, so that'll be worthwhile.
Yeah, it's 4 more than usual.
So we did actually also just get interrupted at that point. Just remembered, and just been reminded of the fact that Straight Out of Shadespire 14 will be on Saturday the 3rd of April at 2:30 p.m. Central Eastern Time.
Is that confirmed now?
It is confirmed. Valentin sent me this earlier and asked me to shout it out.
When you last spoke to me, it wasn't confirmed. You said, don't say what it's going to be.
He sent it to me a little earlier today, and then I completely forgot about it until we just talked about it just now. So it's going to be same Highlander mode as before, so every warband can only be played by 1 player. So if you do want to join, go and check them out, and you have to pick your warband when you sign up. First come, first serve. He says he's already bagged the Starblood Stalkers. So there should be 30 warbands by then with the Starblood Stalkers out as well. But
are they going to be out by then?
I think so. Hopefully, I think it should be. I think because it's still nearly a month away, isn't it?
Yeah, but I just can't think. I can't remember the schedule now. I feel like they won't. I feel like their pre-order announcement might be the very last week in March, but perhaps I'll be wrong.
Maybe. I think if they're available, then whoever picks them will be able to play them. If not, I think what he's also then said is if there are already 30 people on there, you can still sign up but leave your warband choice blank, and then because they usually have a couple of dropouts just before the big day, you can then pick up one of those warbands. So we will be commentating that one.
Tim's signing up now.
Good man, Tim. Who will he pick?
April, yeah. Did you say April the 3rd?
April the 3rd, yes.
April the 3rd, and we are commentating, I believe.
We will be commentating. I do believe that John will also be doing it over on Can You Roll a Crit, and we will be covering it as well. So it'll be getting maximum coverage.
Real.
I mean, after the last time we covered it, it jumped from about 16 odd people to 29. Yeah. So I reckon after we cover it this time.
So maybe we can get it up to 60.
I think Valentin's already starting to worry that he might start getting 60 people involved, and he's just going to have to. He's not going to be able to make it the big social event that it was before. So maybe he might. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad idea to keep it not too large a scale, just to keep that sort of friendly atmosphere going.
Rother's asked a question that he wants to know. I don't think he wants to know it before he goes to bed, because he's off to bed. But it's a really long question, so I'm not sure I understand it.
Where's that? Where's this?
In the Agents live chat, it's just popped up.
Oh, it's on Discord?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, yeah. Disco. But it's a really long question, and I'm not sure I can read it all out. Okay, this is for just to everyone. Magic dice are statistically better than normal because a swirl equals a sword, and a lightning equals a hammer. But to succeed in either way, normal or crit, a swirl equals 4+ rather than a sword 5+. What?
Same with lightning is 3+ and the hammer is 4+.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, I see. Okay. I think I see. Okay. As we all know, magic dice are renowned to be very wavy. So I struggle to understand why, because statistically, the magic dice eliminate supports and give you the medium of 1 support, no more, no less. So surely, this being itself statistically, magic dice should be more consistent because double supports is very rare unless you have casters set up for it. So consider this is just an Underworld's community supposition at this point. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions and anybody else's because it has sparked his interest.
I think that quite often magic dice are perceived to be less accurate because you generally only ever get to roll at maximum 2. Because normally you don't ever have more than 2 casting dice.
Yeah, I think, and they don't do much damage, so they're generally less. It's risk reward, isn't it?
Also, quite often when you're using the spell dice, you're trying to cast a gambit spell. Quite often, you don't tend to throw that many magic dice, I think, and so I think it's more. You tend to feel the swinginess a bit more of them because you're not rolling as many. You might only try casting 2 or 3 spells during a game or something, or making 2 or 3 magical attacks. And if you have a slightly statistical anomaly of failing 3 of those 4, then you'd be like, oh, these things never bloody hit. But if you missed, with your regular attacks, you would just be like, oh well, I'll get that back in the next game. It doesn't seem to stick in the mind as much.
No, I mean I haven't thought about the best. I think things like they don't tend to have cleave and ensnare and things like that. Kind of makes a difference.
That is also very true, yep.
And it may be different now. I'm trying to think when. No, it's not. I'm trying to think about because obviously your opponent can get the benefit of supports still on their defense dice, but you obviously can't because you don't have any supports on the dice. But I appreciate what he's saying about supports in the original question.
Yes.
But yes, I don't know the answer, Rosa. I think it's risk reward. I think it often doesn't feel like it's worth having a spell attack action to do 1 because they're quite often 1 damage unless you're inspired or got a card to boost it.
Yeah.
The risk reward doesn't feel enough. Whereas with Draknar, I'll happily hammer in with Draknar when he's doing two hammers 4 damage.
Yeah, definitely.
It's because the reward is much higher.
Yeah, there's more ways to improve your attacks as well. You can add dice, you can add results and successes and all that kind of stuff to them. So even though initially a hammer on a dice is less likely than its equivalent on a magic dice.
Most magic attacks are the same as a hammer, but you can't have supports. And you only get 2 dice. So although hammer attacks aren't bad, you have no supports.
Or cleaves or anything like that.
Yeah.
As has been pointed out in the chat, you cannot register yet, so apologies for setting people off in a frenzy before being able to, but as soon as he lets it open up, he'll be sharing it on Facebook and stuff, and we'll share it as well, and then it'll be out there ready. So, but we will be following that one. 2:30 Central Eastern Time is that like 1:30 UK time, GMT?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And Jason makes a very good point that if you're playing a spell, then a card, then if you fail, it's gone. You can't play that card again. So you can make magic attacks again, but you can't. And that makes them less desirable generally. Gambits than ploys because you know a ploy is going to work, even if it's slightly weaker than the spell. And often it's not. I'm not sure. I don't know whether the balance is right. I feel like there are obviously the odd spell that's really powerful, but a lot of the spell effects are still quite meh compared with considering that they are a risk that you won't actually hit at all.
Yeah.
Roger's typing, so I don't know. But then Lenny Wink says he thinks it's all in our heads on the Discord, on the Patreon Discord chat.
To be honest, it probably is. I mean, most stuff's in my head these days.
Maybe there's also the fact if you do run a double crit, you'll take damage. That's another thing that's in the back of the mind. Which is never there for the other dice.
That is a very good point. That is a very good point indeed. So that was one of our first questions, which then took us off on a tangent. This is how we end up.
So it's just because Roger was going out of bed because he has to get up unfeasibly early, doesn't he? I think he has to get up before he goes to bed.
Yep. Back in my day.
Exactly.
So another question we got asked, and this is kind of related to the other thing that we mentioned. Out of TTS and Warhammer Underworlds Online, which one do you prefer and why? Or which aspect would you like to see in the other game? User interface or animations, etc.
Well, that's a good question.
I like them both for different reasons. I love the fact that in TTS it is just a copy of the board game, but that has downsides because there's setup times and nothing's automated, so you have to do it all manually. But you can, when you realise I didn't mean to do that move, I don't actually want to attack that person, you can just say, I didn't mean to make that move or attack that, I didn't want to attack that person, and your opponent will go, alright, you can just put it back then, and that's it. Whereas online, you're stuffed. It's like once you take it's a bit like chess, the minute you take your finger off the model, of the piece, it's like, no, that's it, you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know whether they've changed it because I haven't played it since June.
They haven't.
But if you accidentally selected the wrong card, you still had to play it, even though you hadn't even. It's not like you played it and then realised you played the wrong one. You hadn't even played it. You were going to sort of says which fighter do you I can't remember. You went to play Shardfall and it says, oh, which fighter do you want to choose? Like, oh no, I played Distraction by mistake. It happened in one of my league games. I had sidestep and distraction, and I picked. I don't know if they were next to each other, but I picked the wrong one, and so then I had to distract. And I was playing against Thorn, so I knew he was going for supremacy at the end of the round, and I picked the distraction in activation 3 instead of activation 4, and it wouldn't let me put it back. And that's really annoying.
I think overall TTS wins it for me. I do love the animation of Underworlds Online. I do love the way they brought it to life, and I do love the fact that it automates a lot of it for me. But I think TTS wins just because it is a copy of the current game.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you can talk through Discord or whatever on Underworlds Online, but TTS seems to just be slightly less formal, I suppose, in the sense that you kind of you don't have to do it with a mate, but you kind of know who you're doing it with, and you chat through it, and you can take it at your own pace as well, which I think is a big difference. I even though I don't find Underworlds Online that overly fast, you still have to go to the pace that it sets. Yeah. You can't have a chat and a bit of a laugh, even if you're playing with a friend, very easily.
Even in Underworlds Online, it misses that crucial human interaction factor, which I think is like 90% of the reason why people play these games. And without that, it's just playing against a very dull computer opponent. And they did recently add in the emote system, which I'm very unhappy to say is really crap. It's really, really crap. It doesn't really do anything.
I haven't tried. Lazarus has just had a terrible bug type thing where he did 7 damage to a 3-wound fighter but didn't score crushing force.
Weird.
Maybe he just did too much damage. It didn't crush them, it obliterated them. I mean, obviously that you don't get bugs in TTS because that stuff. I mean, you get human error.
You do sometimes get it weird. Where the cards
you do get bugs where cards disappear and stuff.
Yeah.
But you don't get. Obviously, you have human bugs where you miss an upgrade or something, but you don't get a situation where you don't score a card. I mean, it's flip side. One is you can't forget to score a card in Warhammer Underworlds Online, where you can't forget to score them in TTS. But you don't get that frustration because even if you've forgotten to add a bonus, unless you videoed it, you never know.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have the situation Lazarus just stated there, where you should have scored a card and you don't, and then it also then colours the rest of the game.
Yeah.
You think, well, I've already scored this card and it's basically screwed everything up.
And I've got no more chances.
I don't want to trash the game, and I haven't played it for a long time. But it suffers because it hasn't got its own decent meta. It seems a bit arbitrary, the meta, I think. I don't think they've handled the card release particularly well.
I think, it's been a bit too slow in its releases, and I know that's because they've only got like 10 of them and whatnot, and they haven't got the bodies to be able to churn out any quicker. I do wonder why it takes so long for them to do some of the stuff, because I would have thought adding extra deploys into the game and upgrades should be very simple, given the logic flow that most of these things flow through. So, but I don't know anything about the platform they're developing on or anything like that, so I can't.
No, so I don't want to, but it just, I think, I can see that they're in between a rock and a hard place. They can either develop, they're probably in a situation where they can either develop a new warband or they can develop more cards.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they almost need to do both at once, and that may not be possible.
Yeah,
because there haven't been any new universal cards added for, I don't know, even possibly since I played last.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to think when they last released a load of universal cards. I can't remember if they even released any.
I know they've added warbands because I even bought a couple of them. But I can't remember if they've actually.
They released Averon, which was like my least interested warband. I mean, the only other warband they could have released that I would have been less interested in was possibly Mollog.
I haven't bought Averon, but I have the Eyes of the Nine. I bought the Eyes of the Nine and the Chosen Axes, I think, but I haven't played them.
Yeah, I played the Chosen Axes. I got quite good with the Chosen Axes. I was starting to really enjoy them, but yeah, I just think that the lack of human interaction, which is funny because at the same time I find myself sitting there sometimes thinking, oh, I could go on and play a game, but I just don't want to have to interact with people. So I'm not really sure what I want.
Yeah, no, I don't know what I want. I think, but basically the bottom line is sometimes I want to play a game where I can interact with people, but I don't ever want to play a game where I can't. I think is what it boils down to.
Yeah, definitely. And of all the games I played when we've done the Patreon TTS League that we're currently in at the minute, I've enjoyed every single one of them. I haven't had a single game where I've thought afterwards, God, I wish I hadn't done that, even when I've lost. So
yeah, and I think that's the pacing of it, because you can have not even a side chat, but you can just talk about whatever, and it doesn't.
Anything.
It doesn't interrupt the flow of the game, or it does interrupt the flow of the game, but the game in Underworlds Online, it carries on, and so you can't really talk about whatever you're talking about because you actually need to concentrate on what's happening.
Yeah.
I think that's the big difference for me. So I think I'm definitely a TTS fan, and I hope that it continues after lockdown and what have you. People are still playing internationally on TTS because I think that's a really nice aspect for it. I know it's not official, but I'd like to see it carry on.
Underworlds is one of those interesting games. It's one of the few games GW have released which is a board game. It's not got rulers and all that kind of stuff, tape measures and all that sort of jazz. I mean, there's Aeronautica, but apart from that, I can't think of very many games that GW have done that are hex based. Apart from like Blood Bowl already has its own full
Mighty Empires.
Game. Okay, Mighty Empires. But I mean, Underworlds is one of the first games. Underworld's one of the first games where GW could actually say, "Let's release this on TTS. Let's give it full support on TTS." And I mean, that wouldn't actually be a bad idea for them, really.
No, I think it would be, especially in this current day and age. I think it would be really good. It'd be a really good way to support the game. It'd be a really interesting way to get data on the game.
All that would be buried in there.
And a visual upgrade. VJ says Blitz Bowl.
Yep, that's another one. Although Blitz Bowl seems to be this whole, what do you call it, Barnes and Noble only deal, so they probably won't ever do that, which is a bit rubbish.
Space Hulk, good points, D.
Space Hulk.
But if they supported TTS, they could actually have beta versions of warbands and stuff, so they could actually test the cards as they went. So when instead of having like 5 or 6 people testing Hunter's Reflexes or whatever it was, they'd have like 500 people doing it, and then realise the card was broken and change it.
Yeah.
Which I guess you've got to stop at some point, but they could, in theory, even if they didn't make it public, they could have a wider test pool and test the cards more on a platform like TTS.
Yeah, it's true. The only problem with TTS is they'd have to somehow lock down and control the cards and the models as they got released somehow. You'd have to make it so that you could play with the cards or the models, and your opponent could see those cards and models, but they couldn't play with those cards and models unless they bought them themselves, that kind of thing. And TTS is quite open, where you can just copy things and if I import
GW playtesters use TTS. Well, I suspect they probably do in this current day and age.
Yeah, I can't see how they can't right now, which is comical, really, because obviously officially they'd be like, no, we do not support this in any way whatsoever. Have they released a new version? Yes, brilliant. It looks brilliant. Let's use that. So
Something like Magic the Gathering, the Future League, the Magic the Gathering Future League. Well, I don't know what that is. I did actually buy some Magic the Gathering cards the other day because I'm an idiot. I thought, I'll play these with my kids, and of course I haven't. They've just sat on the side. I just bought the I can't remember what it's called. Quick Start. I think it was called something like that. It's not called Quick Start. Basically, it's like several random splices of cards you can put together, pairs of decks, and we'll have to play it when we can get together, Pete.
Okay, yep, give it a bash. Next question we got asked was, what skill do you wish you were better at?
What skill?
Yeah, I'm assuming game related, not
what
like
number's that?
playing guitar or something.
What number question is that? I don't 13. Know. I need to read it. I say, what skill do you wish you were better at? Well,
I just read it.
There's an after dark answer to that question, isn't there?
You wish you were a more cunning linguist?
Yeah, wish I could blow through my ears. I don't know. What skill do I wish I were better at?
I'm assuming it's underworlds related.
I suppose at the moment I wish I was better at painting because I'm enjoying that painting aspect of it. But you have to put in the hours, so that's it's all well and good wishing that, but you do have to put in the hours, you get better. And I'm seeing that. I've been cursing Zarastro this last answering questions, Steve. I've been cursing Zarastro this week because his videos are well beyond my ability at the moment. But I have noticed that having followed them, I am getting gradually better, even though at the end of it, I look at his and I look at mine and go, well, I can see what I was trying to do, but there is an improvement there. So I guess although he's putting me well out of my comfort zone, it is worth it. Even though at the end of the day, I think, why didn't I just paint this like I know how to paint? Because he seems to have evolved to a style where he doesn't use washes.
What a bastard!
Yeah, so which seems like madness to me. But I'm slowly getting there. But
like you say, you got to push yourself out of your comfort zone, because if you always do what you've always done, then you always get what you've always got. So you don't. Nothing changes.
No, so it is good. It is good, even though I've been saying some uncomplimentary things about him.
That's only from the point of view of unrequited jealousy and bitterness over his ability.
Yeah. A lot of it is jealousy driven.
Yeah. Alternative Oats has turned up. Let's see. I'm not sure we've got any of those. We've got random burbles, but that's about it.
So what skill do you think you were better at, Pete?
I wish I was just better at remembering what cards I've got in my deck when I'm playing Underworlds or things like that.
Yeah.
Just remembering shit like that. It's just...
Did you find, though, because we've been playing our Vanguard League, did you find that you were getting better at remembering?
No. No.
Oh, okay.
Not at all.
I was getting better at remembering. Hilariously, there was one game, and I can't remember which game it was now, and I had 2 cards left at the end, and I thought, I've got 50. I think I had 1 activation left. I was like, I could do something which will maybe score me 1 glory, or I could take a 50-50 chance at scoring more glory. But I decided not to. I wouldn't take the risk. And I'd forgotten that the card I was going to fish for I'd taken out when I changed the deck. So I'm really glad that I didn't. It was only afterwards when I went to look back at the deck, it wasn't in there. I was like, oh, okay.
I've had 2 games that I remember where I've got down to like one of the last few activations. I've only got 1 card left in my objective pile, and I think there's no point in me doing anything else, so I might as well draw that card. And then I think one time it was Sacred Trilobe, which is like, well, I've only got 1 fighter left, so I couldn't even, I should have remembered that I still had that card left to draw. And the other time was like Savage Exemplar, which is kill someone with your leader, and my leader was already dead. So I was like, if I'd have remembered at all what these were, I don't think it mattered in the end, because it was like I couldn't do anything else anyway. But it's like both times, it's just a surprise. Like, oh, completely forgot about that card. How do I not remember any of this shit at all?
And it's just classic Robbie fishing for a card he's taken out. Well, you see, I've bucked the trend because I didn't fish for it.
Oh, yeah.
Wolf and Gas says the trick to have Underworld's DB open and then still forget what you've already used. Yes, I haven't done that in my league games because that would be cheating, really. But I do it sometimes when I play Peak, because I've normally only just created the deck about half an hour before, just to see what. But I can't remember what's gone anyway, so it is a waste of time.
I think that's the problem we have, though, is because we are just playing different decks week in, week out and stuff like that. It just no hope at all of remembering it most of the time.
Vanguard makes it a bit easier because at the moment there's an awful lot less cards to remember.
Yep. I am finding the one issue with Vanguard right now, and I know we've been giving it a lot of love recently, is when I go to create a deck with a new warband, it is mostly a case of go through the warband specific cards and pick 5 or 6 specific cards out of there, and then the rest is just you're choosing mostly from the same like 20 or 30 cards, because some of them are just and then every now and then I'll think maybe I'll try the hunger mechanic, and I'll look at all the hunger cards available and go, no, that's shit, I won't do that.
Yeah,
so that's
next warband comes out, I reckon you have some more choices, but I think that's okay because it still encourages more interesting play on the board.
Yep.
So although the meta is more fluid with more cards, I think you still end up getting very typical builds with very typical cards. But everything, it's not true that everything plays the same way. But you find, I don't know, I just feel like I've played a lot more sneaky plays, or had to think a lot more around how to get around a problem playing Vanguard than you do when playing Championship, because Championship tends to be like, well, I could just distract him off the objective, and then use Spectral Wings and just zoom up the board. But you don't have that luxury.
That's it. They go, oh shit, I haven't got these. There aren't any generic push cards in the deck to distract your opponent off. So there is that definitely that aspect of things. So I do still enjoy it for that, but I do find it's a little bit repetitive sometimes when coming up. Okay, I'll try this warband. Oh, I've got most of the same.
I'm not very good at making decks, so the less choice, the better.
That is true. That is very true, and it does encourage people, I think, to take more faction-specific cards, which you just wouldn't necessarily.
Always a good thing. I mean, back in season 1, we used to have our faction fraction.
Yeah, it almost re-encourages that by just by accident almost. But yeah, I think it's worthwhile. And I mean, my Nurgle, my Wormspat deck that I'd created hasn't got many Nurgle objectives, because I think all the Nurgle objectives are utter shite. But it has got several ploys and upgrades. I've got about 4 of the cycle cards, I think, in there, because they're actually not bad.
Good mileage out of them, and that's almost a shame with some of the sort of, especially earlier seasons. The universal cards are so powerful that you never got to use things like the cycle points, because it just wasn't worth it. But actually, you've had good mileage out of those cycle points in the current meta, because they're actually, the effects are half decent rather than decent, which is, I think, most of the cards available, the effects are half decent rather than decent, and so you end up with a more interesting mix of, if not okay, the variety of cards isn't there, but what you then have to do with them becomes more interesting, I think.
Yeah, I hope so. So the next one I just picked out at random was, which warband do you hate the most and why?
Morgoth's Crushers.
You don't like them? You don't like them,
no.
Morgoths?
No.
Why is that?
They have nothing fun about them. So, like the polarizing warbands, Hrothgor and Mollog. Okay, so they're probably the 2 most polarizing warbands, potentially. They have the Trap and the Noblars, or they have the Squigs, which are fun.
How can you not like Bat Squig?
But Morgoths is just 3 great big orcs who smash things, and they've got overpowered faction-specific cards, and an overpowered wire mechanic. That's so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, my pick would be Mollog, because I was listening to the Chat and Crit podcast about big boys in Underworlds, and are they good for the game and not. And I think they came down to the fact that they said Mollog is bad for newer starters, newer players of the game, people new to the game. He's bad for, because he can be very confusing, because he changes the rules so much around the whole double move or double charge thing. But when you get to more advanced players, then maybe he's not quite so bad. There are ways to deal with him. And I kind of disagreed with it a bit, because they were saying, if you want to get good at the game, all you've got to do is spend a lot of time playing against Mollog to work out how to beat him. But you don't have to do that with a load of the other warbands. So he's still a bigger problem than any of the other warbands, because you still have to spend that much more time analysing him. You don't sit there and go, "Oh, Garrick, they're a real massive pain. I'm gonna have to spend loads of games against them to try and work out how to beat Garrick." You just breathe on them and they die. But Mollog, it's like,
Yeah, I haven't finished listening to it yet, but I disagree with you slightly there. I think because I think the problem with Mollog polarizes the meta, which is which is the problem, I think. And so and they did touch on this in the game. He's a very strong particular type of archetype. He's very strong in the smashing things, and he was very strong in the control tomes thing. And they have a problem in the game, I think, just generally, where they have a few like that. So Curse Breakers with Magic is a classic, and I would say Grimwatch with Objectives were like at one stage, so they started restricting their cards, where when you make one style of play better, it becomes doubly better for those guys. I think. So I don't feel like Moloch himself is the problem. The problem is that particularly at the moment, we're in quite an aggro heavy meta. He distorts that quite a lot.
I think yeah. I mean, we'll have to disagree about on that. I think because I do think that he does that. He definitely does make those kind of things worse. So any card that makes a fighter better at hitting is even more better on Mollog because he gets to attack multiple times or move multiple times and charge multiple times. But also because Mollog himself is such a high wound, high damaging target that does so much on his own, he completely changes how you can play the game. So if you're an objective fighting warband, even up against an aggro warband, you've got a certain set of plays. But when you're up against Mollog, it's like how... If Mollog starts to charge into line when you're trying to stand on objectives, you've got no hope at all. And I don't feel he poses the same problems as other standard 4 to 6 aggro fighter warbands do, because you've got more options where you can think, well, if they charge this person in and they knock my person off an objective, I can charge back and hit them and kill that fighter whilst getting back on the objective. Whereas with Mollog, it's if I do that, I'm just putting another person into the meat grinder because he won't die. I might inspire him and make him even worse, and then he'll smash me to pieces again the second time round and so on. So I feel like he breaks the rules a bit.
I am talking from a position of ignorance, fair to say, because we don't play Mollog. So some Laura said in there, nobody plays Mollog in her meta. So we don't play him against. And the only time we did play him was a brilliant game, but the other one was playing Hrothgorn, which probably isn't really, six and one half dozen the other there, isn't it? So we haven't tried playing. I mean, I wouldn't fancy playing Eyes of the Nine into Mollog, for example, or Grimwatch even. So,
one thing they did say that was quite important though was the more hate Mollog gets, the less people play him, and the less people get used to playing him, and therefore the worse he gets because no one's used to dealing with him. And I do agree with that quite heavily. So, whilst he's my least favourite fighter to play with or against, I still think it's important to get games in against him when you can, especially if you're practicing for a tournament of some kind. Although
Tony asked how we solve the Mollog problem. I'm not sure he's particularly solvable.
I'd just ban him.
I think it depends on what cards are available, because there have been times when he hasn't been great. He was too strong with Tomes. Mollog was about.
Yeah, I think right now he's probably less of a problem because there's no instant inspires, so you can fight him by just ignoring him.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know how easy that is. I mean, okay, he might not inspire, but he can still. Yeah, I guess if you get unlucky, if the model player's unlucky, but there are so many good upgrades for him now that it's difficult, even if he does inspire. Like you say, there are no inspire cards available.
And the other problem,
that doesn't solve the Hrothgorn problem.
No, the Hrothgorn problem, I think, if anything, is a bit more insidious because he buggers up the whole hunter quarry thing. So every time they release a card that's good for hunters, it's bloody awesome for him, because most of the time it's like a hunter does something to a quarry, and most people are like, oh, when the hell's that going to happen? I won't bother taking that card. But Hrothgorn's like, well, that's my new favourite card. Put that in the deck. And obviously a lot of these get restricted, but that's annoying because then that means that people who might have thought maybe I'll try and get a Hunter Quarry deck working, and then going to go, well, it's restricted, so bollocks, I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, I mean, I think you do. I mean, Laura says banning the card you can use to heal, that might help. Yeah, I mean, yes, definitely. And I think that will get banned. And that's one of those cards that's kind of what I was talking about. It polarizes things. So that card
Bye,
in itself
Laura.
isn't that great.
Laura's off. Bye-bye.
Oh, okay. Good night, Laura. Yeah, that card it isn't that great on its own with most of the warbands. But with Monarch and Hrothgorn, it's really good.
But I feel
and needs banning or restricting. John Rees said you should ignore Mollog just now, and that's what Jonathan Davis did in his game, and he should have won. Yeah, I think that is valid. I mean, Chat and Crit said that's how to play him. Don't, especially at the moment, because you can't inspire him if you ignore him. So don't take any damage of him, because I think Michael said about in one game somebody took 1 damage of him and then he ran him through 2 lethal hexes, and then he was inspired. Yeah. And so that is true. And you did that to me, and I wasn't so unused to playing Mollog. It completely didn't occur to me to run through lethal hexes. You did that to me when we played him, and he was still pretty dangerous.
I was going to say, the problem you might find is if you do running through lethal hexes, if you haven't got that healing card on you, and you get him down to 4 wounds, he is then one-shottable, and with Hrothgorn running around...
There are plenty of +1 wound cards.
Yeah, true.
There's so many options.
Not so much in Dichasm. There's 2, because he has one of his own, doesn't he, I think, and then there's one other one, which gives you, puts you on guard as well. That's about it.
Not in the Vanguard, maybe not so much, but yeah, in the Vanguard meta. But in the Championship meta, there's still loads. There's great strength. Great fortitude, and you've got that's +1 defense, isn't it? Which is scavenged armor. Scavenged armor +1 wounds.
That's +1 wounds that puts you on guard, but that's the only one in the Dichasm Vanguard meta. Don't place lethals when playing him. That is a good point, Gavin. Yep, don't bother doing that.
No.
Makes it much trickier.
Yeah. Lazarus says for Hrothgorn, choosing an enemy fighter.
Yeah.
Making that fighter a quarry. Yeah, that would definitely be better.
I mean, I can't believe really that Hrothgorn got through playtesting as he was and came through in that final state, because doing any kind of blanket thing like that, it's easier to give more than to take away. So it would have been better if they'd made him like that, as Lazarus has just said, and then errata it to say actually he can pick a fighter each turn or something like that. Rather than do what they did, which just says everyone's a quarry all the time.
I wonder whether they didn't pay with all the quarry cards. Thanks.
You do wonder. You do wonder.
I don't know.
So, next question on the list then. This is a nice easy one. If you could go to a Grand Clash tomorrow, which warband would you bring and why?
I don't know. If I go tomorrow, because we haven't even played Championship meta for ages, so I probably would take the Ravagers, because I've nearly finished painting them.
For good reason.
And they're good fun.
I'd probably take
either that, or I'd go back to Gits, but I didn't do very well with the Gits last time. I'm not sure I would. I think I need something simple, don't I? I think
you would do better at a Grand Clash with a smashy type warband, just to get him in someone's face. Although then you did that with Godsworn Hunt the time before that.
Yeah. Lady Harrows?
Trouble is with Lady Harrow, you're basically taking 4 fights whose special abilities you'll never remember.
That's true, but I play them enough, I might though.
Maybe, probably not though.
No, you're probably right. I still keep forgetting the ritual token for Despoilers. Really enjoying the Despoilers in the Dichasm Vanguard Plus meta. What about you?
I'd probably take Wormspat, just because I'm just really getting back into the whole Wormspat thing. I kind of, for a little while, I thought they were just shit. And I think that's because they bounced off Hrothgorn for a while when we first got them on the board. And they didn't do well. But actually, since then, they're a lot tougher than I gave them credit for at the start. And even Fecula's pretty nasty. When she inspires, she rolls 3 hammers. So, they're not bad. So I'd probably take them again.
You've had good success. Again, in the Dichasm meta, you've had good success with them. You're currently winning our group.
Yep, I am. Yeah, so it's just about. skin of my teeth, but at the minute, but that's because some people haven't played the games. But still, besides the point. Next question.
It's not though. I mean, I think they've both got a win for you not to qualify. So you're doing well.
True. If you could change one thing in the game, and I assume this is referring to Underworlds, rules, board, warbands, etc., what would it be and why? Might it be reaction windows for combat, or just narrowing down the whole combat process further than maybe not that actually, probably just the reaction window stuff and how they've handled reactions, because there's too many.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think. I think I would have effectively 3. I think if I could get away with it before, after, and during. Before, during, and after rather combat. So you have one. You can play one before. You can play one during and one after. None of this. After the attack, but before the deal damage. I kind of know why some of those exist there to make sure certain things don't interrupt them. But I think the game could work just as smoothly. Maybe you wouldn't have quite so many interesting card interactions, but I think I would go along with that. And I think the other thing I would change, I would if I could choose, I would have updated cards / fighter cards for older warbands, keep them current. So I'd give Garrick two dodge, things like that. Just to that there. If I could pick anything, I think I'd do that just to make it more interesting, make it more current, and like Eyes of the Nine, give them a boost.
Yeah, I would definitely. I definitely would boost some of the older warbands, but I know that GW would never do that. And somebody mentioned about banning longboarding, and I don't know. I think longboarding maybe it's got a bit more of a place now. I don't know. I think that they, at least in the Vanguard meta, there's much less sit back and ignore your fighter sort of play style at the minute. So longboarding happens less. It's much more a charge in and start beating the crap out of each other.
Does the prevalence of primacy make longboarding less likely? I don't know. Feel like it might, except of course people might try and hide more, to not give away primacy. But I feel like certainly, we've only been playing Vanguard. You kind of, it's much more bring the fight to one another. Tends to be. I've longboarded in one of my league games against Morgox.
Disgusting.
But that's one of those things. There's longboarding with 3 fighters and sitting right at the back, and not being able to get there. I did longboard Morgox, but I had Despoiler's got 6 fighters, so I couldn't get everybody away. But the purpose was to stop him getting on a war train and just beating my fighters into a pulp, which he was successful in doing. But the problem is, it's like a lot of these things. I think some of the rules, and it kind of goes back into a little bit into what we were talking about, the big guys. A lot of the really good plays and the good players find a combination that kind of breaks the game almost, or breaks the intent of the game. So the intent of the game is to have a punch up and score some glory. But longboarding, I don't know, but I suspect the designers, when they designed longboarding, never thought somebody's going to build a deck and just sit right back and try and avoid interacting with their opponent as much as they possibly can. I'm sure they didn't think that, but because this is a competitive game, people like to find ways of exploiting quirks in the game. So I don't feel like longboarding in itself is bad, because there isn't. If you're playing a very aggressive warband, then it seems a bit harsh to say, well, actually, if you're not, I'm afraid you've got to set up so that they can smash you in the face and kill you all, because that's a bit harsh. There are certain warbands who, if you want to win anything with Eyes of the Nine, you almost have to longboard these days, kind of thing. But I don't know.
Yeah, I can never work out with longboarding. I used to be dead set against it, but I'm not so fussed at the minute. At least the Vanguard meta, I don't think it matters as much, but maybe I'll change my mind on that one later on down the line. John Grant mentioned about giving old warbands a new lease of life would be great. I wonder if GW will actually not just take the route of just phasing out Season 1 warbands soon, because there'll just be so many warbands.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
while some of the Season 1 warbands can still hold up every now and then, I think overall they might just be easier to
I
just...
thought they're built-in obsolescence. They never need to ban them.
True.
Because you'll always get some crazy bastard who wants to play Iron Skulls or wants to play Chosen Axes. And it doesn't affect competitions particularly. It's not like they're massively overpowered. If they're overpowered, then they're more of an issue. But because they're underpowered, I don't think it really matters. They don't need to ban them because they kind of they regulate themselves.
Yeah.
Jeff says, he was talking to Lenny about Morgox. Have you seen them use Morgox push much? It seems great, but so they think they could survive the long ball. Well, I kind of did it to try and stop the accumulation of war tokens so that they couldn't push quite so much, and it worked in my game. But I was bloody lucky; all my cards came out in exactly the right order. So I think he missed a crucial attack at the beginning. But that's kind of the point of it. He kind of only gave a one shot chance of killing one despoiler because of the way it was set up. Whereas
I think
if they can get into you in other ways, then it can get messy.
I mean, Jordan mentioned about maybe we'll see revamped warbands in Season 5. Well, we have already seen some of the revamped warbands. I think they're not direct skins, but like the Blade Cove and our Garrick's Boys Reborn, I think. Magor, I think we've kind of re-seen, although the original Magor is not bad. We could do with a new Skaven warband though, because we haven't had a Skaven warband for several seasons, and I want one. VJ says about having a Shooty Clan Skyer one. I can't say whether I'd have a Shooty Clan Skyer one or one with like a rat ogre in it. I'm not sure which I'd rather have.
Jason says, "What about we chat about what else is out there?"
Good point, Jason. I mean, that was kind of
I know that's how it was advertised.
We kind of went off on our own tangent. What else is out there? I mean, we are kind of interested in doing. What's that? What's the new Warhammer Quest game?
Cursed City.
Cursed City. We're kind of interested in doing that. Although that's not. It's not hex based. It kind of annoys me that they made it and it's not hex based. Kind of feels like that should be hex based, just to give the extra level of flexibility there. It's all squares instead.
Is it square based?
Yeah, it's like it's very much like Warhammer Quest. So
okay,
it's square tiles rather than hex based.
I think it was hexes, wasn't it? Blackstone Fortress.
Blackstone was, yeah. BSF was.
Yeah.
But Hammerhal was squares, and they've stuck with squares by the looks of it, which is a bit rubbish. But it is what it is.
I mean, I loved the thing that they had the room. They displayed the rooms and things today in their location. They look great, but there's nothing yet that has made me think this game isn't going to be more style than substance.
We could find ourselves with a very similar game to Blackstone Fortress, where after you've played a couple of the levels, it's like the same process again.
Yeah. Because it's a difficult thing. You build a game like that, you've only got a finite number of models, so you can only have a finite number of encounters.
True.
So, it'll be interesting to see how they. Interesting to see how it plays. I'm worried. I love the look of it. I think it looks amazing. I just hope. I think I said before last week, if the game plays half as well as it looks, it'll be good. But I worry that it won't.
But if it plays like Blackstone Fortress, then oh dear. And it looks like it's going to be very close to Blackstone Fortress. It's got the same kind of dice with the same kind of symbols on, and
I wouldn't say oh dear. I enjoyed our Blackstone Fortress sessions, but it just I think it may just be that when we are not huge fans of procedurally generated dungeons. Effectively they are, aren't they?
Possibly. I think maybe that's the kind of thing where you need to have like 3 or 4 people in it to max out the difficulty and to increase the interaction between other parties. But then once you do that, it can start to get more tricky to record, and then it becomes less of an issue, less easy for us to do on the channel and that kind of thing.
VJ has pointed out that Start Over Substance is pretty much GW's sort of motto. I agree with that, and that's always a worry with their games, and probably why I don't, apart from Underworld, I don't play very many of them.
I do think
regularly.
Underworlds has been like the what's the word I'm trying to think of? It has broke the GW mold, and it is actually quite easy to play, but also pretty balanced, but also fun.
Yeah,
It's quite unusual.
approach the GW mold is good.
Hey, didn't even think of that one. Didn't. A lot of shouts out for Super Fantasy Brawl there, but I don't think that one's going to be on the channel. What else do we have in our list?
John Grant wants a 4-player game of Underworlds. Jason's talking about Super Fantasy Brawl being a new
Season 2.
Just launched. Yeah, I haven't spoken to them for a while. I'm meant to be getting a copy of the first season, but I'll have to email them again. The last season, they said it got stuck in. They were having Brexit issues, but that was about a month ago. But I haven't chased them because it's not like I can actually play it.
No, that's true. What else was there? There's God Tier. We've got that sitting there, waiting.
God Tier, yes, that's over there. It's still in the box.
And we got, I can't remember I can never remember what the other one's called. With the mech things.
Necromunda. Yeah, actually, I've enjoyed our Necromunda games. Good point, Steve. And we got some positive feedback on those videos. People were enjoying them. So I am looking forward to making it. I've completely forgotten how to play or what my warband gangs did. But hopefully we'll pick it up again.
Yeah, I think we still have all the details from the last few games, so maybe we'll have to... we should have to be able to pick that where we left off. And what was that mech game that we got? I can't remember what it's called now.
Is it either Mech Warrior or Battletech? I can never remember which way around it is.
Whichever one we got sent. But yeah, we got that as well.
Yeah, we have got that. That seemed buried even deeper over there in the box.
That's hex-based, isn't it? Or is it
Sorry?
That's hex-based, isn't it? Or is it just the models are on hexes? So. Cool, that gets a big plus.
Crisis Protocol, yeah, I think what was in Crisis Protocol coming? Battletech, Andrew says. Oh yeah, Ed's talking about Unmatched, which I played a game of Unmatched. It was quite enjoyable. Played that online. It's kind of fun, but it's not that easy to get hold of over here, I don't think.
Oh, I didn't know that. Jason Newell says that you can play Super Fantasy Brawl on Board Game Arena right now.
I haven't actually tried Board Game Arena, I don't think.
Might be worth a look.
I played Tabletopia and I played TTS, but I don't think I played Board Game Arena.
Might be worth a look. Depends on what it costs on there, I guess. But yeah, maybe.
I think it's free and then it costs extra to play different things. If you play Battletech, please do Alpha Strike. Yes, I'm pretty sure we will be playing Alpha Strike.
Is that like the skirmish light rules version?
Yeah, it's the lighter version because the other version looks very technical. No, I think that we won't play that. So I think I've got the Alpha Strike card, so I'm pretty sure that's how we're going to play it when we finally get to play it.
Alternative Votes is off. Go on, Alternative Votes. Thank you for joining us.
Votes.
Somebody asked us what do we think about the Warhammer Magic crossover. I think we discussed this on the Patreon Discord a little while ago. We were kind of like, didn't really care much about it, to be honest.
I was quite excited, more excited about the Lord of the Rings bit, actually, but I was quite interested in it. But it's going to depend on how it's implemented. But I think it could be fun. I mean,
I'm assuming it's going to be just like a regular game of Magic, just with 40k cards, yeah. So anybody can.
Magic's a good game. So
I've never played Magic, so I couldn't really attest to how good it is. But obviously,
it for a long time, but it's a good game. It can get bogged down in it, like a lot of these games, but it is good. So I mean, I would play it. I would not play it on principle.
No, I can't say it's the kind of thing where I'd sit there and go, I'm not touching that because it's Magic or anything, and I'm not touching that because it's 40k. It's probably going to spoil any kind of immersion you might have when your Black Knight goes up against Marnius Calgar with his double power fists and Stormbolt or whatever. But other than that,
they won't be standard legal. Ed says Ed plays a lot. Yes, they're some new underpants version, aren't they? The logo looks like a pair of underpants.
I haven't even noticed that.
Yeah. Vijay says he's after watching some Super Fantasy Brawl bat reps, he's glad he dropped his pledge when he saw the postage. Interesting. I haven't watched any bat reps. I watched one of our patrons did one, didn't he? Edward Maynard. I did watch that one, but
It's one of those
yeah.
things where I tried to have a look around to see if there were any battle reps online. I couldn't really see many, and I need to do some more digging into it. The game itself seems quite simple to play. The mechanics seem quite fast. I don't know if that means it just becomes a bit more of a boring game because there's very little in the way of tactics or something like that. John's off. No, John.
Not John. Yes, I think it looks interesting. I love the models. The models are great. So well, if we get a copy, we'll definitely play it. I think that's probably where I'm at with it.
I think. I mean, I was tempted to buy it just for the models, just for some of the models, because some of them look fantastic and I think they paint really well, and they're not hyper detailed like GWs, so they'd be easier to paint in almost a slightly more cartoony block colour.
Yeah.
I think they'd be perfect for things like contrast paints where you can just do use it on the slightly more textured areas and get just a nice quick simple paint job out of them. But yeah, I mean
Jeff says 4 hour long block strategy game.
I'm assuming that
Sounds
was for
good, Jeff.
Battlemech, wasn't it?
Block strategies games. Just something I've only just discovered.
What's that?
Well, the best way I could describe it really, I said this on our Discord. It's like complicated Stratego. So you line up your forces. So there's a map or whatever. You line up your forces, and you can see on the back of them what they are, but your opponent can't. So he can see you have some forces, but he doesn't know what they are till he interacts with them. And then, but obviously they have quite complicated things on them, and they seem to take quite a long time.
Is that the game that you said had the estimated playtime of 60 to 180 minutes or something?
Yeah, I think that's because there are different scenarios, and you can play them all back to back. I mean, so if you play the whole lot, it's 4 hours, I think.
The fact that it starts at 60 minutes is already ringing alarm bells.
Yes, because we know 60 really means 2 days.
yeah, for us at least. Definitely, we'd see more Blitz Bowl coming along on the channel, I think. Definitely gonna have to try and get a hold of a copy of Blitz Bowl 2 somehow. I feel just to get those other cards and to get the extra board options really, because then painting up teams isn't that big a deal. And I've started something really funky as well. I started last year, in that you've got all the different balls. You can see those. So each team has their own balls, which come with their own rules.
Balls.
Balls.
Keep saying balls.
So you've got that right. And what I did was I stuck a little bit of tin to the bottom of the ball, and then what I've got here is a base, buttery biscuit base, and it's got a magnet in it. So the balls, you can just swap them over, whichever game you're playing. And not only that one hasn't got a magnet on, that ruins it. So you got.
What did you say you put on the balls?
Sorry.
What did you say you put on the balls?
They just got a bit of tin. I just got a lid from a tin can and literally just snapped off a little bit.
I was about to say they can't be tin because tin's not magnetic, but I see.
Sorry, yeah, tin can, not actual tin.
Yeah, sorry.
And then I was going to stick magnets to all of the players' bases, which I'd already done for the Skaven team, I think, that I've got. And then that way you can seamlessly transport the ball from the ball's base to the player's base. That's the idea.
So what you're really saying is any game, as long as you can magnetise it in some way, then you're up for it.
Pretty much, yeah. In fact, that is the game for me, is how can I implement the magnets on into the system.
I've won! I've managed to promote magnets.
I've magnetised everything, although...
All the bases are magnetised.
I certainly haven't gone as far as some people I've seen where they've literally magnetised like every single weapon option on a squad of Terminators. It's just... I mean, does it matter that much? Maybe it does, but...
My fear of Necromunda before we started playing that I was going to have to magnetise all the weapons to swap them over.
Yeah, and then we realised, oh, we're not that good for it to matter.
No, exactly. It's actually just choose what's fun and just go for it.
Magnetising your balls in Blitz Bowl is the way to go.
Fair enough. Pete's magnetised balls.
Now there was another game that I'd put on the actual the thumbnail for when it was meant to be the right thumbnail, and then they bloody well
All right.
moved it across. But I can't remember what it was now, which had another.
Can you get the thumbnail?
I could look up Discord because there's a link in there. So it was God
Oh, yeah.
Tier, Necromunda, Blitz Bowl. And there was just super fancy
Okay.
brawls. That was the only one.
Yeah,
So
I don't know very much about God Tier apart from I watched a video of how to play, but it looks Underworlds-esque. It's got hexes, and it's got cool minis. It's got some really cool undead type minis.
I have to say, two of the biggest selling factors for me now these days is if it's hex based and has cool looking models. I'm kind of already halfway there.
Yeah, although I try not to fall for the cool mini or not the cool mini thing because it's very easy to buy a shit game that's got cool minis. Like really easy to do that. Talking of things that I don't buy and things I don't need, I backed the One Ring RPG, which fulfilled this week. So that's an RPG set in Lord of the Rings world that I should never play, but I'm looking forward to getting that. And I've backed some dungeon designing software. It just looks so cool. I'm never going to use it. And it won't be anywhere near as good as it looked, but it looked really cool, so it wasn't that expensive, so I went for it. It's called Dungeon Alchemist, I think.
The number of things I see online where I just think, oh, that would be cool, and then I just think, I'm just never going to do it. It's just, don't buy it, Pete. Just don't buy it.
No, I'm still harbouring dreams that maybe one day I will actually play RPGs again. So
it's one of the things I keep thinking about, trying to set up a really easy, very more ad-libbed role-play game than stat-based and heavy dice rolling to play with my kids to see if it interests them, and then maybe slowly drip feed more rules and stuff in. You just start almost with you're a dwarf with an axe and you're an elf with a bow, and here's a load of orcs that you've got to decide how you want to deal with that kind of thing, and then move on from there.
Sorry, VJ, I didn't mean fulfilled. I meant it finished. Basically, the Kickstarter finished. So yeah, that was the wrong term.
The Trooper asks, are we going to be doing the Underworlds tournament in real life? We can all get together next year. Well,
we're meant to talk about that tonight.
Yeah. But we don't know if it's happening yet now, do we?
I'm pretty sure it is, but I'm just waiting for clarification. Assuming that Tabletop Gaming Live goes ahead in September, then hopefully we will be we'll be running our little side event there. But I've emailed them just to say, hey, because apparently we're not on the ticket list anymore. I think that's probably just a site. So I've emailed them just to say, is it going ahead? Well, not is it going ahead, because it is officially at the moment going ahead. But do you still want us? And we still like to play. And so we should hopefully have some more information on that next week. And so hopefully that will be going ahead. That is towards the end of September. I think it's the 25th of September. We're only there Saturday and Sunday. We're only there on Saturday. And there is a Grand Clash in London booked.
Well, it's not a Grand Clash because it's not GW.
It's a Grand Clash. I'm sure the text said it was Grand Clash.
It's not a GW based thing. So
okay.
I don't know if it's 100% a Grand Clash, but there is a sort of a clash of some kind going on the Friday up in London as well. So
yes, it's on the Friday night. They've done that before. It's the big London Grand Tournament thing.
Oh yeah, so the LGT.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll have to see. I mean, they're talking about the possibility of further surges, aren't they? So who knows where we'll be come September? But let's keep our fingers crossed that we will be able to play. I should be vaccinated then.
I suspect.
Being 50.
Well, yeah, by September I should be vaccinated as well. So
yeah.
In fact, I think nearly everybody over the age of 30 will be vaccinated. So
yeah.
I reckon whilst we might get some more spikes in cases, I don't think we're going to see more lockdowns unless it triggers a massive extra wave of deaths.
Bloody hope not.
No, I just can't. I'm getting towards the end of that.
But it's a bit different. There's the difference between not being locked down and meeting a load of sweaty gamers in a hall for 10 hours. They're two quite sort of
polar opposites,
different apart.
Very much.
To go back to magnets.
Yes, definitely. I'm definitely looking forward to that, and yeah, as far as we're aware, we still will be doing that, and the chances are at that point, season 5 might have just landed. But I think even if season 5 has just landed, we might do just like a not Beast Grave, a Diachasm Vanguard tournament. So just to keep things.
We haven't really discussed format, but I think probably. Sorry, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Kind of just going to agree with you. Probably most likely is Diachasm Vanguard, isn't it? Probably that'd probably be the most likely way we'll go.
Anonymous Jeff does win tonight. Maximum 6 surges allowed. That's the problem because we've only had 2.
Well, Jeff hopes not to, as long as the vaccine supplies keep coming. I'm already going off the back of what Mr. Thingy said today.
Mr. Thingy. That sounds
Chris Whitty. Yeah. But he did say if we were silly and opened up too fast, we'd get surges. So hopefully. Yeah. But then I looked at the government and I thought, oh, okay, well that's going to happen then, isn't it?
Pretty much. But also, if you notice, the government's checklist on what would make them lock back down or not move on to the next level was not a surge in cases. So.
Right. Okay.
What is surges? That's
not
fine.
Money made.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much.
Ed's had his first vaccine.
Well done. I guess that's because you work in an airport or something.
It's because he's really over 90.
Which explains, yeah.
Trait in the attic.
So there we go. I think that's probably as good a point as any to call it for tonight.
Yeah.
We will.
Hopefully next week we might get a bit more to talk about.
Yeah.
Otherwise, these things are becoming just us rambling on, which is really nice because it's really nice to talk to everybody and have everybody in the house.
People keep turning up and listening, so it must be doing all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully we'll have more to talk about. Though do keep an eye out for Straight Out Shadespire Volume 14. If you're unsure, if you keep seeing it and thinking, no, I probably won't do that, but I kind of want to, just do it. Everybody seems to really love it when they do that. And to be honest, if we had the time and the energy, we would as well. But we're going to actually, commentate instead.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. I really enjoyed doing it last time. So we should be a little bit more polished this time as well.
Hopefully, yes. We won't be sitting there going, oh, how do we do this?
Excellent. And he gets to fly interstate to do it, which apparently is good, bad. But anyway, yes.
Ed says the side effects hit him hard. I know several people who've had it and said that the side effects are quite bad.
Not for very long, but...
day or two of feeling really, really crappy. And a friend of mine who had COVID and then had his vaccine afterwards said that it's actually the vaccine he felt worse than the actual when he had COVID. So
I look forward to that then, because presumably my wife and I like to have it the same day, and then so we'll both feel shit at the same time.
You should just say to the kids, right, here's the number for the pizzas, Domino's around the corner. There's the movie channel. Just
we won't get so. I know my in-laws had it the same day. Maybe we won't necessarily get it at the same time, but maybe there's a reason not to. My in-laws only had to put up with each other.
So there we go. That's another week of natter for us. Like I say, Robin, hopefully we'll have more next week to talk on the warbands, because right now we just keep seeing a load of crap about the Savage Orcs that don't really appeal to us, or don't really reveal very much at all.
But yeah, so each week sort of is gradually turning into us just going on about what games we'd like to play. If A, we could meet, and B, we had money and time.
Yeah. One of the questions was, when will we start to get people, when will we be able to get people back in to the garage? And I guess it's July, once all the restrictions finally lift.
Yeah, I think we can meet in May.
Yeah.
But then I'm not sure when we can have extra personages.
I assume it's I think it's June. I think there's a June cut-off, which is like, okay.
Is that when free social mix? I didn't know whether we could, because there's only if we only have one person at the garage, whether we can do that or not.
Oh, they might be.
We will see.
Sometime
I'm
after May.
really not paying attention to the what the new restrictions will be.
Change one day to the next, really.
Because there's no point, really.
But maybe June time. I don't know about Robin, but I'm really interested as soon as we can get to that stage, is to get people on, get people in, playing Underworlds, playing whatever else we can muster, really, to try and get some variety and then just get more people in.
Yeah, we're going to try and get some Saturdays in the diary, aren't we?
Yeah.
So we can, yeah, so that'd be good to get people along to those. But we will see. That's all in the future.
Future. Which, God knows what that is going to be looking like at all. So stay safe out there, everyone. If you can, get your vaccine sorted. And hopefully we'll see a lot of you in September once we get this Ali Pally thing sorted. And maybe we'll see a few of you before that in the garage at some stage.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching.
See you soon.
And we will see you this time next week.
Stay safe.
Maybe on Friday lunchtime if you're around. That's a funny time. If you're around Friday lunchtime, Pete and I are going to do some painting live.
Yeah.
You can look to see how terrible we are at painting. But come and have a chat.
Yes. Do jump in if you're painting or if you're thinking of doing some hobbying. Come and join us and we'll have a little natter.
Cheers, everyone.
See you soon. Bye.